This is going to be the second time that the president will attend the Belt and Road Forum. 2 years ago, during the first Belt and Road Forum, it was significant because we were just, in a sense, renewing our relationship with China. And, the Belt and Road Initiative was an idea. President Xi articulated this way back in 2013, but we were in the middle of a contentious period in our relations because of the disputes and arbitration. So actually, there was a lot of suspicion and distrust, and part of it was lack of information on what the Belt and Road was all about. So it was only when the relationship turned around in October 2016, when the president came over, that we took another look at the Belt and Road Forum, the initiative. As you know, it really is an initiative by China to create a platform for development and cooperation, economic cooperation, using the paradigm of the ancient Silk Road and the maritime Silk Road. And that's why it really has to do with connecting China with Europe, basically the Eurasian continent, as well as Eurasia and again Southeast Asia, through the maritime Silk Road. So when the president first came here, it was an opportunity to learn more about the Belt and Road Forum and the initiative. And at that point, we basically proceeded from the perspective of convergence and synergy. Because the president had yung build program, no? And then the Belt and Road, the key idea was connectivity. Infrastructure was a key item. So we saw that there was a convergence. And the key was how to find where there are areas for cooperation, where we can find synergy. There is also the ASEAN Master Plan on connectivity, how to connect the countries like the Philippines, Indonesia, the Brunei with the mainland, and then with the mainland Southeast Asia, and on to other parts of Asia. So we see that there are areas where there are convergence, and that is what we found from the first forum. The president articulated the Philippines' position, and we'll have another opportunity now to contribute. But we look at it as a platform or a networking platform, as well as a platform for economic cooperation, where we can expand the Philippines in terms of export markets, investment opportunities, opportunities in tourism, because it connects a big chunk of the world. And all the ASEAN countries will be participating in this. In the first one, there were a couple of ASEAN countries that were not invited. So now it's even more significant. It's bigger compared to the previous one. Through the BRI, or this Belt and Road Forum, there are about, 37 heads of state participating. And then there are more countries participating, several dozen countries. So it gives you a network for seeking more economic opportunities, basically. That's the key. And the key for us is a basic idea ng BRI is connectivity. And a basic idea behind connectivity is infrastructure. Of course, there are other components like people-to-people exchange, government-to-government policy, synergy. But for us, it's really that idea of infrastructure. Now, since China is a key proponent of this, part of it really has to do with improved bilateral relations between the two countries. That China is willing, because they have $3 trillion foreign reserves, And this is really where they're getting the money for, you know, the railway project connecting to the Europe, the Middle East and Europe. And then all the ideas of ports and other, you know, shipping facilities along the way to Indian Ocean, to the Mediterranean. So from the point of the Philippines, we're looking at how to maximize yung opportunity in terms of what we could get, not only from China, but from other countries involved in the Belt and Road, insofar as boosting our economic development. And a key component is boosting the build program, you know. So that is our real interest here. It's how we can maximize economic opportunities and economic benefits for the Philippines. Aside from infrastructure, trade, we hope to expand markets for Philippine products, not only to China, ASEAN countries, but also to the Eurasian, Central Asia, to Europe, and then as well as opportunities for more investments, more tourism. So for us, it's really the economic gain that we are after. The advantage of the BRI, and even the presidents attending the BRF, the Belt and Road Forum, there are no commitments in a sense. It's not an alliance, or is there a treaty? Actually, from 2017, when he attended, we still had to go through some studies and some discussions. It was only when President Xi visited last November that the MOU was signed, in which we formally, signified that we are part of it. But through that whole time, we were, in a sense, already part of it, but we formalized it with that. But even that MOU is non-binding. It's an expression of a desire to be part of it. But if there are, if there are things that we don't agree with, or that does not work for us, then we are not bound. So this is the advantage. It's a loose arrangement, and yet it's a network, an economic network. And at the same time, we view it really more, what is our compass in all this? Our compass is really our national interests, particularly our economic development. And of course, our other compass, the broader compass we follow, is our Constitution. So that is the guiding light in terms of how to go forward in the BRI. Actually, for the president, it's an opportunity again to be able to have renew his friendship with President Xi, as well as to be together with the ASEAN members who will be here, and also an opportunity to meet a broader group of. There are more leaders now. Italy is joining for the first time. Some Switzerland is joining, and then you have the countries of Central Asia, and then you have other countries from Asia that are participating. So for the president, as always, when he goes and participates in this, it's how, again, to advance the Philippine interests, to maximize the economic benefits for the Philippines through, and articulate the Philippine perspective. Itong BRI has become like a signature initiative in China's foreign policy. And part of this really is China opening up. They're, building more linkages through the Eurasian continent, and then they're developing their contacts also through the maritime Silk Road. That is why sometimes the Chinese have to parry, the misinterpretation or the view of others that this is like a Chinese geopolitical ploy to spread their influence. I mean, one cannot deny that China is now a rising power and that it wants to expand its influence. So for us, we go into it with eyes wide open. But the key for us is how we can maximize our own interests, and knowing that China has its own agenda. Each country has its own agenda. So you try to find where you have common points or a convergence. It can if you mix it up. If you put it in the front and center and you use it as a condition to develop the other areas where there are no disputes, then as we did for a period of time, then it becomes complicated. But as we say, dispute should not define the totality of relations. It's only a part of it. There is a bigger part where there you could have cooperation and trade, investment, tourism. So that is the method we found. And aside from that, of course, we use bilateral, we use multilateral. This is the way we were able to move forward. There's one thing you should understand. The BRI, the Build was done independently of BRI. You know, there is like a flagship program, 75 projects that was lined up by NEDA. And then we basically offered it to the international community. We're not relying alone on BRI or on China. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, even now, the loans we get from China is at present is less than 1%. And when we get all the loans, you know, at the end of President Duterte's term, it will be less than 5% of our total foreign debt. So this whole issue that will become too dependent, the evidence does not support it. I think part of it is, you see, we are, as I said, witnessing a change in the world order, the decline of the West, including the US, and the rise of China, India, and the other powers. And because of that, there is a strategic rivalry going on. So some from this camp would try to belittle the other. And we're caught in the middle. The key for us is just to stay out of it, you know, and to proceed from our own interests. That's the key.